Good evening and welcome to the Public Education Candidate Forum hosted by Raise Your Hand Texas for Texas House District 61. Aren't we in a beautiful venue this evening here in the McKinney ISD Community Event Center? Thank you for joining us. My name is Missy Bender, and I am the Trustee in Residence and the Regional Advocacy Director for Raise Your Hand Texas here in Collin and Denton counties. The future of Texas, our economy, communities, and citizenry really depends on how well we prepare our students today. All students deserve a level playing field and equal access to a quality public education. We believe our public schools represent our greatest hope for educating and preparing 5.4 million Texas students for the future. Let me tell you who we are as an organization. We are a nonprofit, nonpartisan public education advocacy organization, and we were founded 18 years ago in 2006 by Charles Budd, the chairman and CEO of HEB. Does anybody shop at HEB? Me too. And tonight we are coordinating a series of candidate forums just like this one all across Texas in the weeks leading up to the March 5th primary election. We do not endorse candidates, and we provide opportunities like tonight's event to help voters learn more about the candidates on their ballot before they cast their ballot. We are grateful to the North Texas Commission, the McKinney Chamber of Commerce, and the McKinney ISD Council of PTAs for co-sponsoring this forum with us this evening and for their commitment to public education. We thank you for taking the time this evening to join us to learn more about what the candidates have to say about public education. I would now like to introduce the moderator for tonight's forum. It is Lisa Hermes, and Lisa serves as the president and CEO of the McKinney Chamber of Commerce. Thank you, Lisa, for serving as our moderator this evening.
Thank you, Missy. Let's see where I am in our script today. Thank you all for being here. It's very important that we become educated before we go vote and get to know the candidates and where they stand on certain positions. As the president of the McKinney Chamber of Commerce, it's an easy fit for us to partner with Raise Your Hand Texas and other organizations. We too are a nonpartisan organization that and we do not endorse candidates, but we are focused on a lot of issues that are very important to the vitality of McKinney and of our region. And so we were really pleased to be able to partner with them in this capacity. So I want to say thank you to everybody who's here today, because it's really important that you are engaged citizens and get interested in learning more about where the candidates, what their positions are. I also want to say thank you to the candidates who are running. It takes a lot of courage to put yourself out there and talk to lots of people and talk to different, talk about different positions. So it's not a well-paid job. So we just want to say thank you for stepping up and filling those positions and putting yourself out there, and for being here today. All right, so a little bit moving forward. Our goal for our public education candidate forums is to create a civil environment of mutual respect in which candidates have the opportunity to communicate clearly and audience members have the opportunity to learn more about issues and candidates. With that in mind, I'm about to read a bunch of rules, and the rules are meant for us to be able to have a really good conversation today where we're respectful of all the different opinions in this room and we get to hear from all of the candidates. And we will be enforcing the rules, so please do adhere to everything that I'm about to read. Okay, rules for the candidates. Please respond directly to the content matter in the question posed. We previously shared the HD 61 candidate forum questions with all of the candidates, so they had those in advance to prepare. Please direct your answers only to the moderator and to the attendees. Please do not engage with your fellow candidates. You will have 2 minutes for an opening statement and 1 minute to answer the questions once we get into the questions. And then we're going to have another 2 minutes per candidate to recap and have a closing statement. If I feel like you have not clearly responded to the question, let's say you just go totally off the script and not answering the question, I may ask for some clarification, and then you'll have 30 seconds to clarify. Also, please refrain from referencing other candidates' past statements or voting records. We want you to use your time allowed to present how you believe and what you think about these positions, and not necessarily attacking other candidates. Please do not interrupt your fellow candidates when they are responding to a question. Keep the stated time limits for responses and respect the timekeeper's request. Timekeeper, please show where the timekeeper is. Very important, because we have 3 candidates here and lots of questions to get through. We want to be very respectful of everybody's time and make sure it's fair for each candidate. If I feel like the candidate is not respecting these rules, I will interrupt them and redirect the conversation to the subject matter at hand. Please don't make me do this, because I'm a really nice person and I don't like to have to do that. But I also am a mother of an 8-year-old, so I do know how to redirect and put people in timeout. All right, guess what, audience? You too have some rules that we all need to follow. Please maintain an atmosphere of respect. Audience members are asked to refrain from applause, outburst, or other signs of approval or disapproval during the entirety of the forum. We will have the opportunity to show our appreciation to the candidates at the conclusion of the forum. Audience outburst will not be tolerated. Audience members who engage in outbursts during the forum will be asked to leave. Do not attempt to distribute campaign materials anywhere other than the designated candidate tables as you've seen as you walked in. Campaign materials can only be distributed at those tables. They may not be placed on the seats or handed out to attendees entering or exiting the auditorium. We ask the audience members help maintain the neutrality of the space by refraining from wearing campaign t-shirts. If you're wearing a campaign t-shirt, maybe turn it inside out. You can go out there and do that maybe. That might be more. But guess what? While we want you to be quiet in the room, we do want you to not be quiet on social media, so we welcome your tweets and your social media posts from the event, and would appreciate you tagging Raise Your Hand Texas. Their handle is at RYH Texas, so be sure to put that on there. A little bit about the logistics. The event is being filmed, so that film, it's not live streamed, but it is being filmed. We will be taking that film, editing it, making sure, not editing the responses, but just editing it to where it looks nice. And it will be on the website for you to share, on Raise Your Hand Texas website, where you can share it. Unauthorized videos are not allowed, and candidates may not use our content, our video content for campaign purposes. Videos may be taken if the camera is silent, does not use a flash, and does not block anyone's view. Questions this evening are going to be focused on public education and have been previously prepared by Raise Your Hand Texas, and as I mentioned earlier, they have been given to the candidates in advance. The questions I'm going to ask will be in random order each time, so one candidate might be the first one on one question, and then they might be the first one on somebody else might be the first one on the second question. And they will have to adhere to the 60-second time. Our timekeeper is going to give some instructions. She'll have don't worry guys, she'll give you the 15-second rule. So once you see that, start wrapping it up. And with that, I think that we are ready. Do you think that's plenty of rules to keep this place?
I would say so.
Scared? I know, quite a few, but I think that if we all abide by them, it's going to make this a much better forum for everybody. So let's introduce the candidates, why we're here today. So all the candidates for the office of State Representative 61 were invited, and we are pleased to have the following candidates here tonight. We have Tony Adams, who is on the Democratic ticket. We also have Frederick Frazier, who is on the incumbent and on the Republican ticket. And we also have Chuck Branch, who is on the Republican ticket tonight. We're going to start with that 2-minute introduction for each candidate. I'm gonna ask, we're gonna start with Tony Adams, followed by Frederick Frazier, and then Chuck Branch. So Tony, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, good evening. Good evening, guys. Thank you for coming. First of all, I want to thank each and every one of you. This is your dinner time with your family, but you decided to come here, and it's truly a privilege, and I'm honored. I really want to thank each and every one of you for coming tonight. I really appreciate it. I know how important this time is for you, for your family, with your family. I also want to thank Raise Your Hands for organizing this dialogue with the community and the candidates. Brilliant, right? Really brilliant. We need to do this more, right? So thank you, Raise Your Hands, Texas. I also want to thank Frederick for joining the conversation, and Chuck for joining the conversation. Respectful, decent conversation to solve the problems, right? We all have to work together. So I want to really thank Chuck and Frederick for joining this dialogue tonight. About me, Tony Adams for people.com. A lot of things about me is there, so take a look at it when you get a chance. I know we have a 2-minute timer, so I'm trying to make it short. Couple of things about me. TonyAdamsForPeople.com has all the information. Please look into that. One, I am a big supporter of funding public education. I am a big supporter of funding our teachers' pay raise. I am the only candidate who is standing against a voucher which defunds and destroys our public neighborhood schools. So I wanted to get that leadership conversation, the contrast where I stand today. I support funding teachers, public education, and against the voucher. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. All right, Frederick Frazier.
Yeah. This working? I think
I
so
have to
now.
push the button.
Oh, I think it did. Let's see if it's working now. How about now? You got it? All right.
Excellent.
Well, thank you for having us. Thank you for this beautiful facility. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Chuck, for being here. I really want to thank, how many teachers do we have in this room? Please keep your hands up. How many folks are in administration? Thank you. It makes a giant difference in our children's lives. Every children that is, how many went to public schools? There you go. This is the one thing that no one ever recognizes. I grew up in public schools. Our children go to public schools. My kids go to public schools now. I'm your current legislator right now. I'm your current District 61 representative. I've been fighting for public schools from the very beginning. When I was on council, every single thing we do is around our public school system. I've been a part of the PTA. My wife's in the back. We've constantly been involved with everything we do with public schools. We go to public schools on a regular occasion, handing out resolutions for one reason: to recognize the folks that are there, to recognize the people that should be recognized, that should have been recognized in the first place. These sessions are tough. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of politics that plays a part. But I promise you in the end, there's folks that are sitting up here right now, me, that sits on your pension system, that sits on everything that's going through the educational process, is sitting there trying to figure out how to fight for you, how to make sure we get it over the top. How do we get you the money that you deserve? How do we start with the retainment? How do we start with the recruitment and then get to retainment and then get to retirement? It's not easy, but we've got to be here and we've got to be present to show our public school systems that we are there for them. I know there's a lot of misconception of what's going on, but we're here, I'm here. My name is Frederick Frazier. I'm your state representative, and I'm very proud to be here. And thank you, Raise Your Hand, Texas, for putting this together.
Thank you, Frederick. All right, Chuck Branch.
All right, good evening. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for coming and listening to us. My name is Chuck Branch. I grew up in Richardson, went to Berkeley High School, and then went over to UT Dallas, got my degree in accounting. I moved to the Mid-Cities a couple years after that. Went to church, met my wife, got saved. So it was a good idea in my life. We moved here to McKinney. Collin County, I've been here for about 22 years now. Moved to McKinney about 20 years ago. Served on the city council. focused a lot on bringing businesses here to help us drop the property taxes, and also encourage our schools, school board members, and our council members start working together, so that way we could hopefully share some resources and help keep some property taxes down. I mentored students at the Partners in Education, was part of that for 6 years. All of them turned out pretty good, so that was another good idea I had. But you know, it's been great to be here in McKinney. I've got 4 beautiful children. We've got our son, 3 of them graduated now, and we've now got our young son who's in elementary school. And it's grateful to be here and thankful for all that you guys have done.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, we're going to start in with the questions now. The question and answer portion of our forum uses questions that were prepared by Raise Your Hand Texas. Again, all the candidates have been notified of the questions ahead of time, and they will have up to 60 seconds to respond. We're going to start with some general questions about the 88th legislative session as a whole. The 88th regular legislative session and the additional 4 special sessions elevated numerous education policy issues at our state capitol. Teacher pay, inflationary pressures, the $1 billion special education funding shortfall, rethinking our assessment and accountability systems, and, of course, the school choice or voucher debate. Unfortunately, these major policy issues ended up stalling and are on hold until a 5th called special session sometime in 2024 or the next regular session in January of 2025. Texas entered the 2023 legislative sessions with historic budget surpluses. Over $33 billion was available coming into the regular session, and after funding $18+ billion for property tax relief, the state still has $18 billion remaining after updated budget estimates. In addition, the legislature set aside $4 billion in the state budget for school funding and $500 million for vouchers that will remain untouched until the legislation is passed by both chambers. So the first question is, what do you think were the biggest public education accomplishments of the 88th regular session and special sessions? We're going to ask Frederick Fraser to start.
Well, I think school safety is where you start with that. We all watched what happened in Uvalde. We know the problems that we've been having throughout the state of Texas. Some of us have been at the forefront. Some of us have sat on those roundtables. I've sat on those roundtables for 20 years on trying to get more security for our schools, to get more a position for somebody in that school to take action. We finally have that. Unfortunately, it took the worst of the worst thing to happen to get there. The other thing that we needed to get to was funding for the retired teachers. The retired teachers pension program, that finally we got enough money in there where we could start pushing money out, getting a COLA for them. They had not seen money in many, many years. You had retired teachers that were drawing less than $1,000 a month. That's unacceptable in the state of Texas. That's unacceptable for an educator to live on that type of money. We got that bill passed. I sat on pensions. We made sure that bill was passed through the retirement system.
Thank you. Okay, Tony Adams.
Thank you. The bipartisan coalition, including Republicans and Democrats together, worked together and voted to stop the voucher that's going to defund and destroy our public schools. That was the biggest achievement of the 88th legislative session. This voucher is going to defund and destroy our public schools. It's been entangled with the teachers' pay raise, and teachers' pay raise bill is in hostage as we speak. Our teachers need to get a pay raise. So we need to work. That was the biggest achievement. The Republicans also came and worked with Democrats to stop the voucher. So that's one of the things we will be talking a little bit more today. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Chuck Branch.
Yeah, so the safety, obviously, that was one of the bigger issues that we had and really needed to pass to ensure that all the students were safe. You have security there now. And then the next one was raises. Teachers definitely need a raise and should on an annual basis. And those are the 2 major ones.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, our next question. What public education issues do you believe still need major attention? We're going to start this with Tony Adams.
Thank you. And I will keep going back to the root cause of the public education politics is the entanglement, the politics in the state that's actually inspired me to run. Teachers are held hostage. Governor Abbott is keeping our teachers hostage to pass his voucher. Please go to TonyAdamsForPeople.com and click on vouchers. I just created a blog today. Fascinating information. You need to see this. Governor Abbott is pushing the voucher that defunds our public education, holds our teachers hostage to profit the big corporations who are funding his campaign. Thank you.
All right. Chuck Branch.
Yes, the major issues that we need to focus on, recruitment, that's a big issue. Also the attainment of teachers. I think that comes to creating a good environment for the teachers and for the students for them to actually want to stay. Put a growth environment in there that gives them parameters which they can follow, and also cut out some of the social pandering that happens in a lot of the school systems, and the teachers can do their job and just teach.
All right. Frederick Frazier.
Yeah, it goes back to the pay, and it goes back to, sorry, this is not on again. It goes back to pay, and it goes back to retention. We've got the retirement in a place where we're better at now, but the getting the recruitment there is happening, but the retainment is not. Teachers are leaving at a unprecedented numbers that we've never seen. We've also never seen this many people move to the state of Texas and try to fill these teachers and gaps. So the retainment piece, it comes back to the pay and the retirement and everything. The three pillars that you have to stand on is that retention, the recruitment, the retention, and retirement. And right now we're not doing all those three things. We're doing two of them, maybe sometimes, then sometimes one. Then we go back and we're trying to fix all three. But right now we have got to get to where we're retaining our teachers and making sure that they know that they're welcome here and they're wanted here, so we've got to pay them.
Thank you. All right, our third question. HB 1 by Chairman Buckley during the fourth called special session was one of the House's landmark votes on school issues. The bill contained $7.5 billion for school funding, including funds for a 2,000 to 4,000 teacher pay raise. The bill also contained a voucher provision. A vote of 84 to 63 stripped this voucher provision, and the bill was ultimately withdrawn. What is the path forward for providing public schools and teachers with additional funding? And we'll start with Frederick Frazier.
Well, we've got to get back to the table. We've got to get back to where we can get back to work. The bill had 54 amendments, if you were paying attention, and it never got past the first one where it got wiped out. The bill had the teachers' pay raise in it, also had the voucher system in it, but there was going to be a balance that was going to come out of this bill. And several of us have been working on it and continue to work on that to make sure that we have some type of compromise, something that can work for everybody that's in this room, something that can work for everybody in this state. Not all school districts are built the same. And when we see that, we have wonderful schools here. That's why people are moving here. It's not the same all over the state. There's difference in different school districts, and they're having different problems. And that bill is going to help at some point, but we never got to put those amendments in it, and we'll get back to the table at some point.
Thank you. All right, Tony Adams.
Thank you. Like I said, guys, you guys need to kind of really pay attention between the words. The teacher's pay raise is hostage. The voucher is keeping everything hostage. So going forward, the bipartisan coalition with Republicans and Democrats, we need to stand up and stop the voucher. That's going to defund our public school system. It's going to create havoc, destruction in the community. That's the reason I'm here tonight. You guys really need to read the voucher link at TonyAdamsForPeople.com because time won't allow me to cover it. There's a huge corruption that's happening right now. So please pay attention. This is an extremely important topic. Our teachers are held hostage. Teachers will lose jobs, staffs will lose jobs. The voucher goes through. The money, taxpayers' money, goes to private sector. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Chuck Branch.
Yes, this is a great question. So first of all, let's cover the public schools and how do we cover some of the funding. Right now, we gave money to El Paso and a few other areas. They got extra funding for projects. Our schools should be projects. Some of the funding should come from TxDOT to help pay for some of the infrastructure. So when new schools need to be built, that provides some of the funding there. The other part, I do agree, teachers need raises, but that's not the only issue. As far as the voucher system, while we still have the challenges with social pandering that causes a lot of the distractions in school, we're going to need the vouchers. Teachers or parents know what's best for their students or for their kids, and they need a choice and the ability to go to whatever school that they need to, and that's so that's going to help them and their kids grow as they find necessary.
Great, thank you. The following question is about our teacher workforce. Prior to the last session, Governor Abbott asked the Texas Education Agency to establish a teacher vacancy task force. Texas has almost 400,000 teachers in the state. In the most recent Charles Butt Texas teacher statewide poll, 75% of the teachers said they were considering leaving the profession, a 20% increase from just 3 years ago. One of the top priorities for the next legislative session should be how our schools attract, retain, and train our Texas teacher workforce. The question is, what do you think is the largest obstacle for schools in attracting and retaining our teachers? What can be done at the state level to fix these pressing issues? Our first candidate to answer will be Chuck Branch.
So from a legislative standpoint, I'm not sure there's a whole lot that can happen until we're able to enforce the correct environment goes in as far as the school systems. That's what attracts people. You look at some of your organizations out there like Southwest Airlines, they don't have the highest pay. They've got a great environment. A lot of people like to go work for those organizations. That's what has to happen in this area. So working with our legislators from the school boards and legislators working together to make sure that we're creating the correct environment that will also help you retain those people. I believe training is ongoing, and that's something that should help. We should be able to get some funding through legislation for that to help maintain the teachers and make sure they're up to date on all the continuing education and situations for our students that help best serve them and help their growth pattern.
Thank you. Tony Adams.
Again, we're holding teachers hostage. We're not paying them. There have been surveys after surveys taken. Teachers consistently provide number one reason they're leaving is because they're not paid enough. We have to take care of our children, our teachers who take care of our children. It's simple. It's not a hard concept. We're not prioritizing our children. We're prioritizing vouchers that's going to go to Wall Street. So we have to prioritize and pay our teachers. Number one reason. The right-wing organizations coming down on our education system with influencing teachers and children. We gotta stop that. We gotta create the culture where teachers feel they're motivated to teach. We gotta protect them. They need to teach, right? So we need to create an environment, and also we need to pay them what they deserve, right? So thank you.
Thank you. All right, Frederick Frazier.
It comes down to the environment they're working in. It comes down to the paperwork that is constantly drilled on top of them, for filling this out, filling that out, getting the red tape that the state is involved with everything that a teacher does. It's too much. You ask a teacher right now, what am I spending most of my time on? Am I teaching, or am I going through what the red tape is the state has provided for me? They're going to tell you it's the red tape. Next thing they're going to tell you, they're completely overworked. The schools are too crowded and they have too many students to teach sometimes. And they don't have enough help. There's no aides, there's no pay. Then you go back to the pay and the retention part again. What if we started a bonus program and we looked at that to keep our teachers here, to bring them and keep them? The other thing is a tuition reimbursement. The only person that's sitting at this table right now who passed a bill last session for teachers was a tuition reimbursement bill for math and science. I passed it on my first time out as a freshman. I'm going to pass more bills for teachers that are geared to get our teachers here and get them paid.
Thank you. Okay, our next question concerns school safety, which we heard from the candidates earlier. School safety is one of the biggest priorities of our schools. During the 88th regular session, HB 2, which requires at least one armed security officer to be present during regular school hours at each district campus, provided a funding provision that increased the existing allotment from $9.72 per student to $10 per student, and provided an additional $15,000 per campus. The question is, have you talked with your school districts or campus principals about how this new provision is being implemented? What else needs to be done to help our schools be safe? And Frederick Frazier will be our first candidate to answer.
The hardest, when you talk to, whether you're talking to Superintendent Pratt or Holly Ferguson or Waldrop over in Frisco, who I talk to on a regular basis, and Salina and Melissa and Anna, they're all in a growth spurt. You know, we're not as much of a growth spurt than the other school districts, but we still have a lot of students here. We still have a lot of campuses to cover. Finding qualified individuals to work that position is the hardest thing right now. And we knew there would be growing pains, but we had to get the bill done, and we had to get the safety in the schools. So this growing pain will adjust itself. We will have retirees that will retire and go and work in that workforce. And that's what we need to make sure we're applying those positions to that. So somebody with the education and the experience that can do that job in those schools and understand what they need to do in an emergency and take care of our children.
Thank you. Okay, Tony Adams.
Thank you. So the legislatures mandated that security, but they never funded it properly. If you really look into that, they never funded. It's all dog and pony show. So we got to make sure we're funding these things properly. Follow through that whole process. Secondly, we also have to look into funding for school social workers. We are not funding social workers there's a red number right now. We cannot fund those. We're losing a lot of money. So we need to look into a comprehensive solution, not just putting security officers on campus. We also have to fund that, and we also have to fund social officer, social worker at the school campuses. Thank you.
Thank you. Chuck Branch.
Yes, I've seen security on campuses, which is a great addition. We need that. They stay in the right places to ensure that any kids that are exposed to the public, for instance, if they're out there providing the safety patrol, opening the doors, you have security out there. What they've also done is they've upgraded the facilities, like they put glass in certain areas and upgraded the processes in order for outsiders to be able to enter the building. It's been a great process that's helped to ensure that our kids, and what can happen next is just to make sure that we are continuing to develop new processes, changing them up, and then also to put together some type of processes which are already in place, but make sure that we're staying on top of any kind of education for emergency and for any kind of threats that happen.
Thank you. Let's turn to assessment and accountability. There has been a lot of discussion about the overemphasis on tests in recent years. Our current A through F accountability system is entirely based on STAR to rate our schools at the elementary and middle school levels. In February, the Travis County District Court will decide whether or not to allow TEA to move forward on new college career military readiness rules that will drastically impact the overall ratings of campuses and school districts. Our question is, should our accountability system be so dependent on the STAR or any standardized test? What factors of school quality would you like to see included when rating our schools? And the first candidate to answer will be Tony Adams.
Thank you very much. I truly believe that STAR should not be the sole discretionary item. We need to look into how we are running our STEM programs, how the STEM programs are working for the school. Attendance of students, student grades, teacher retention, the parents' feedback about the school. So all these comprehensively we have to look into in assessing how schools are doing for their ranking, not just STAR. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Chuck Branch.
So the STAR and standardized testings, I don't think those have ever proven to really be effective. Students learn different ways, and some of them panic when they have to take a test. I think many of us do. And you see some of us are nervous up here just because it's like a test, right? And so the same thing happens with students with the ability and the online systems and programmings and teachings. We should have a system in place that teaches the kids based on their learning abilities, whether it's kinesthetic, whether it's touch, whether, whatever it is. I don't know about touch, but just however they read, and it needs to fit to their systems. And I believe that's going to really help them, and then take it any kind of testing or just basic tests based on their learning systems. I think that would be better for them.
Thank you. Frederick Frazier.
How many of y'all came down to the committee when they were talking about the STAR test in the education? So I sat through the entire deal, and I'm not on education. I sat there because I wanted to hear the parents' voice. I wanted to hear what these parents were saying. None of them were in agreement with what's going on with the STAR test. None of them were happy with where the STAR test has been placing them. A new system needs to be reassessed. A new system has to be out there to evaluate where we're getting our numbers from. We've obviously, when you hear on the radio the STAR testing this week, or you tell the kids, no one's happy. I mean, the teachers aren't happy, the administration's not happy, and I'm telling you right now, the students aren't happy. And so it's time to change that system. It's got a flaw. We need to look at something better. We need to look at something that's genuine, that's going to help us all get to the next step and get a better rating for these schools.
Thank you. Now let's focus on school funding and the state budget. There are 2 questions on this topic. For the first question, we're going to have Frederick answer first, followed by Tony Adams, and then Chuck Branch. The legislature has held state funding levels for schools without any increase to the basic allotment since 2019. Double-digit inflation over the past 4 years has placed pressure on our schools. This school year, federal stimulus funding runs out and must be obligated if there is any remaining in the school's account. The question is, have you talked to your school districts about what they are doing with their federal stimulus funds? If so, how are they using those funds to address learning loss? What are your schools going to do once the stimulus funds run out? And Frederick will go first.
And I'll start with this. I've been harping on this since we have put no money into it. The state was never balancing where we were putting the state money in and catching up. We were always at a lower rate than what we should have been. We've got to continue to balance that. Every administrator I speak to, whether it's a superintendent or a principal or something, it's like stretching the dollar that they have right now is stretching the dollar they have. And we're not getting enough from it. So we've got to continue, the state has got to continue to put more money into these school systems. We've got to continue to find ways to fund it. We've got the money there. We've got to continue to figure out, it shouldn't be on the taxpayer. I'm going to tell you that right now. And that's what we've been depending on for all these years, is just let the taxpayers fund it, we'll figure it out. It's got to come from the state, and it's got to come from the school districts working together. But right now, that's a tough time.
Thank you. Tony Adams.
Thank you. So we don't have a funding issue. We have a prioritization issue. We're not prioritizing our children and our education over other things. Too much public education politics at the state level. You guys need to send people to Austin who are gonna put politics aside and fund these programs, period. Just period. Just think for a second. You have to send the people. We don't have funding. We have prioritization issues. What are we prioritizing? We are prioritizing big corporations who are funding, the PACs who are funding the governor, the voucher. So we really have to wake up, guys. I'm here to tell you, I'm waking up, I did. That's why you need to check Tony Adams for people.com, voucher, click on voucher link. All these are detailed laid out. Please do. Thank you.
Thank you. Chuck Branch.
Yeah, the first answer is no. I've not talked with the school districts on this or how they're addressing the learning loss, but I think it's evident as far as some of the challenges that they are facing. Again, has to do with, there needs to be the consistent funding that allows the schools to continue to grow and have that opportunity to stay ahead of the curve. And that means through putting together a strategic plan, submitting it to state to allow some kind of grant funding for each one of those. It can present some type of strategic plan to show how they're going to stay ahead of the growth, the curve and their growth patterns. and any other types of systems they need, whether it's online, whether it's AI or whatever is necessary.
Thank you. The state currently has a budget surplus of at least $18 billion, with an additional $23.7 billion in the rainy day fund. What are your funding priorities for public education next session or during any special called session? And this time we're going to start with Tony Adams.
Thank you. I will keep everybody focused. We have the funds. We're keeping teachers' pay raise hostage with the voucher. It's straightforward, one-on-one corruption. I will go there, work with the bipartisan coalition with my Republican friends and Democrats, and rip apart the teachers' pay from the voucher. Then we'll address the other items. So we need to stay focused on. If we don't, just think for a second. We'll have all these schools boarded up in 5 to 10 years. Boarded up. These are the schools we love. My daughter goes to Frisco ISD. We love these schools. We need to work together to send the right people who's going to stop the corruption. If we don't, all the taxpayers' money will straight go to private enterprise. Thank you.
All right, Frederick Frazier.
You know, it comes down to where do you start, where do you need? Well, first, obviously, the rainy day fund is there, and it's for a rainy day. The $18 billion is the surplus that's been sitting for what the over projection was. And we knew that was going to be there, but we still have to go back to get these systems that are in place that we've been lacking on, the math and science, the special education. Special education is one of the biggest things. When you saw all of when there were school districts are putting out looking for employees at the beginning of the year, what was the most they were looking for? What was the one that was empty? The box that was empty. Special education teachers. Aides for special. I posted it all over my Facebook, all over our website to try to get folks to come work in these districts. We've got to keep doing that, but we've got to pay them. We've got to make sure they have the resources. When they come here, they can stay here. And we're not doing that, and that comes with money.
Thank you. Chuck Branch.
I believe one of the first foremost that we're going to need to start with is with areas like TxDOT. They have money there for infrastructure to provide for roadways, and when there are new facilities need to be built out and there's new infrastructure that needs to be put in place for schools, that's going to be, because it's such a huge cost, and it's, you have to put that down as a capital improvement. That allows the schools to be able to utilize some of that funding towards the other education, and that can also help lower some property taxes. You have lower bonding requests, and then also we need to get on top of that with the cost of development going up the way it has. It's gone up 50% over the last couple of years, and so we need to make sure that we're able to put that together and get the infrastructure in place before it's needed.
Thank you. The last topic for tonight is pre-kindergarten education. During the 85th legislative session in 2019, Texas made great strides to increase funding for pre-kindergarten instruction, expanding the amount of money and qualifying enrolled for full-day pre-kindergarten. Yet, Texas still does not have a universal pre-K system in place to provide free pre-K for all students who apply for public education. Would you support increasing funding and opening up admittance for all students to participate in a full-day pre-kindergarten? If yes or no, why? And we're going to start with Chuck Branch.
Yeah, currently I don't think there's enough information to answer this question. Whether a student's ready to move forward or not, that's going to be the parents' decision and choice, because they know whether their children's ready to move forward. We put our kids in pre-school care, and they told us where our kids were, whether they were ready to move into kindergarten or pre-K. That's something the parents are going to know, and so we're going to need more information before we could move forward with making that kind of a decision.
All right, Tony Adams.
Thank you. So 14,000 folks have taken a survey, and they provided their feedback to Frisco ISD saying, yes, we would like pre-K to be fully funded. And yes, we have to invest in our children. We cannot hesitate. We have to invest in our children from the very beginning. Pre-K is they start developing those brain cells and they're processing. We gotta invest. That's the whole point of this conversation tonight. Children is our biggest asset. We have to invest in our children. 14,000 folks taking that survey said, yes, pre-K we should. And I 100% support it and I will fund it. Thank you.
Thank you. Frederick Frazier.
Has anybody been to Lawson Early Childhood Development School here in McKinney? It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. If you don't think they're creating magic in that school system, then you haven't seen it. Because there's only a few of those in our area. Those are early childhood schools. Those are what we need more of. And we need to make them for everybody. We don't need them just for a certain group. It needs to be expanded. That expansion and getting those minds going for those children is where we grow our everything. It's not just our education system, it's our labor, it's our educators. I mean, it comes from every aspect that everyone in this room touched. And it has one of those early childhood programs. So yes, we need it and I completely support it.
Thank you. So this concludes the forum questions. We are now going to move into closing remarks. So each candidate will have up to 2 minutes for closing remarks. And we're going to start with Chuck Branch, then Frederick Frazier, followed by Tony Adams. So Chuck.
Good. Thank you all for allowing me to be here. I really have enjoyed this time. And, I hope that we learned something here. I certainly did, and I'm grateful for this opportunity. The school system is very important, but it needs some work, it needs some help, and certainly the state needs to assist any way that they can, whether it's funding, whether it's providing ways for programming. And we've definitely got to start working together as legislators and also with school boards all throughout to come up with a great system that'll help our schools. I'm very interested in making sure that we create a great environment, just like I did on the city council with our school district, to ensure that we are all working together and make for a better environment for our kids. They're very important to us in the future. So thank you for allowing me to be here.
Thank you. Frederick Frazier.
I'd like to thank Raise Your Hand Texas and everybody that showed up tonight. It means a lot to us to walk in this room and see educators, see administration, and see just community-involved folks that want to be here. My wife and I have raised our entire family here. From the very get-go, we got involved with the schools. We still stay involved with the schools, whether it's whether it's the athletics or any of the programs, or just being Cougar Dad for Valley Creek Elementary, which I was 3 different times. All those things mean something for public education. I want to be the champion for public education. I want to stay the champion for public education. I want to bring you money, bring you programs that we were not bringing here before. I can do that. I've shown you in my first year that I brought you a bill that nobody even thought you could get passed, and I passed it like that. We'll pass more bills for you. We'll continue to work on recruitment, retirement, and our recruitment, retention, and retirement, and make sure that we get special education on the next cycle when we get back in the House and we get reelected, and we keep passing good bills for good education, and make sure that this state is one of the #1 education states in America, because we're not right now, but we're moving in the right direction. Finally, and we got to continue to have people that want to believe in that and believe in public education. And I believe in it.
Thank you. Tony Adams.
Thank you guys. I really appreciate everybody came here. I really wanted you to walk away with that thought process that voucher is taking taxpayers' money away from our public schools, our neighborhood schools, giving it to the Wall Street, giving it to it's a privatization. If that happens, these schools will not be able to operate. Teachers will lose jobs. We will not have materials. We're already red. I spoke with the Frisco governance director of government affairs. We're red. We're really, really red. I mean, this is really, really critical point. So I really wished Governor Abbott was on the right side of the history and really enhance our public education system, support our teachers, our children, 5.4 million children in public education, $12 billion red already. So please think about what you're doing. My job here is to just point you with some knowledge. You have to do your homework, otherwise they will take everything away from us. They have taken everything. Don't let them take our public education, public schools that our children go to. All these extracurricular activities they enjoy, my daughter did in the drill team, they're going to be going away. So it's time to wake up. TonyAdamsForPeople.com. Click on vouchers. It's an eye-opener. So Governor Abbott is taking $6 million in December from Jeff Yass, a billionaire, and he's going to siphon that money to all these candidates. He's going to endorse the candidates. They're going to have pretty flyers flying around. I'm not funded by PACs, super PACs. I'm not funded by any big donors. I'm here because I have skin in the game. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, I'm giving everyone here, the audience and the candidates, an A+ for following the rules. Thank you for making my job so much easier.
Because I'm like, please have.
No, I'm sorry. This is not a public forum. I'm sorry, ma'am. We are not allowing outbursts today.
Until he.
I'm going to have to ask the staff to remove you from the audience.
I don't know what the point is.
Thank you, everybody, for being here today. I'm going to invite Missy Bender to come back up. I want you to give a big round of applause for all the candidates for being here tonight. We appreciate your time and their effort and energy. And Missy, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Lisa, for serving as our moderator this evening. You've done a great job. I'd like to show our appreciation to Lisa. And to candidates. Thank you. Thank you to the candidates for your participation and to each of you being present here this evening to join us. We're grateful to the McKinney ISD Council of PTAs, the McKinney Chamber of Commerce, the North Texas Commission as well for co-sponsoring this event this evening. And I want to show tremendous gratitude to the members of the planning team and the volunteers who came this evening to assist. Would you please stand momentarily so that we can appreciate you as well. Please join us in standing up for public schools. You can sign up to get involved by taking your phone out, sending a text with the words "raise my hand" all together to the number 40649. And at the back of the room, please visit the registration table where we have a number of free items available to you and a yard sign you can pick up that shows that you support public education. It's nonpartisan. You can put that in your yard as well, and a vote plan. Did you know if you make a plan to vote for yourself and determine this is the day I'm going to vote, this is the place and the time, that you're more likely to go vote. So there's a card back there that you can put on your refrigerator for that purpose. Every legislative session is a public education session, and your vote matters in setting that priority. The deadline to register to vote is February 5. The last day to apply to vote by mail is February 23, and early voting is from, does anybody know? That's right, February 20th to March 1st. Primary day is? March 5th. March 5th, that's right. This brings us to the end of this evening's event. Thank you for becoming an informed voter. Please have a safe trip home.